strong collaborative partnership because we do represent the program. So I want people to understand that it's a program which consists of a number of offices interacting and working really well together and collaboratively. I started that when I got here, when I was brought in as the director for the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. We established that relationship with Cook, and I look forward to continuing that relationship with Sally as well as with the Office of Generic Drugs. Also, I want to give a shout out to the one person that said he was from New Jersey. Go Jersey. I was born and bred in Jersey, so Michael, I appreciate you doing that. So thank you for that. It's always nice to have some of my fellow New Jerseyans join us as well. So what I want to do is I want to talk today about the importance of quality in our medicines. What I want to do is I'm asking you to join us in a commitment to quality. The Office of Pharmaceutical Quality was stood up back in 2015, in January of 2015, and we really do need to partner, as Sally had pointed out as well, with the industry to be able to make sure that the quality of the applications we get are such that we are able to approve those very quickly and efficiently across the FDA. So I do want to ask you to join us in this commitment to quality, and we'll focus a little bit on that as I go through it. In terms of the outline that I have for today, what is pharmaceutical quality? What does it mean? When you ask people what does a quality car or TV look like, people are usually quick to be able to answer that. When you ask about quality of pharmaceuticals, not so quick to get an answer. So I do want to give you at least our perspective of what that definition is. Talk a little bit, just a little bit about the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. We also have 4 strategic initiatives within the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, and those 4 strategic initiatives are as follows: collaborate, innovate, engage, and also, communicate and engage. The one I really want to focus on today is engaging, and what does that actually mean for you as well as for the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. And then also just with some concluding remarks as well. So in terms of pharmaceutical quality, a quality product of any kind, whether it be a computer, a car, cell phone, smartphone, of any kind, consistently meets the expectations of the user. It's a simple way to put it. So what I want to point out as we move along, that drugs should be no different. Here we go. Drugs are no different, nor should they be. Also, it's regardless of the source where the drugs come from. So one of the questions I usually get is, are generic drugs that come outside the U.S. as good? Are they worse, better than what we have in the U.S.? They are of the same quality. They pass through the same offices, so they're held to the same standards. Patients expect safe and effective medicine with every dose they take. So the next dose needs to be safe and effective. It's another way to look at quality. It's one of the ways I like to look at quality. What I consider it is the safety and efficacy of the next dose. It's an easy way for me to remember that as well. The next slide. Wrong way. Pharmaceutical quality then can be defined as consistently meeting standards, because we do have standards that need to be met, that ensure every dose is safe and effective. It's also free of contamination and defects. It seems to be very simple, straightforward, but again, a lot of folks don't understand what that actually means when you talk about pharmaceutical quality. So I wanted to kind of preface this presentation with that definition. And as I mentioned before, it's what gives patients confidence in the next dose of the medicine they take. That confidence is that it's safe and effective. A little bit of history of the quality of quality events that took place that led to actually the standing up of the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. When I went through pharmacy school, I'm a pharmacist by schooling as well as job experience. So you learn about a lot of this stuff when you go through school, but you don't realize how impactful it is until you actually start working this in the FDA or within a quality organization. But in 1938, there were 100 deaths from the elixir of sulfanilamide. And what that led to is the 1938 Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, or the FD&C Act, which states that safety studies are required for new drugs. So great, we got the first part, we got safety. In 1962, then, we had the thalidomide incident where children were born with severe birth defects. And that led to the Kefauver-Harris Amendment to the FD&C Act of 1938, which defines it as needing to prove that drugs are both safe as well as effective. So you need the 2 parts. Then what happened is around 2015, what really brought this whole idea of taking quality within the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, within CDER, and really then led to the standing up of the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, was the serious injuries and deaths we had from the global heparin crisis. So a lot of you may be aware of that. Some of you may have even been directly involved in it. I don't want you to think, and I'm not implying, that that was the incident that led to the standing up of the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. But as time had gone by, it was really understood, and what brought it to a head was that we really needed to bring all of the quality units within CDER under one office. And that one office then was called the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, stood up in January of 2015. So what I want to do is I want to give you, to kind of set the tone for this discussion, I want to share with you, and you could read through this as well, and I don't need to read it with you, but you can read it as well, because it kind of gives a nice backdrop for why the Office of Quality exists and why we want to drive quality as a separate office within FDA. So I'll give you a little bit of chance to read that. So this gives, again, a nice backdrop for quality. Because people never realize, people take for granted the quality of the medicines that they take. And that quality may not always be there. And something like this really drives that home. So with that as the backdrop, let me give you a little bit of an idea, or a little bit of grounding in the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. So we oversee quality in terms of manufacturing for domestic sites, as well as for international sites. So basically what you can say is that we really monitor quality across the globe. And these are the products then that come into the U.S. Not only across the globe, but across product classes. We touch a number of different drugs. As we are the focal point for quality, we are involved in reviewing applications or submissions in a number of different drug classes or a number of different drug types. So it's new drugs, biologics, generics, compounded drugs, over-the-counter drugs, OTCs, as well as biosimilars. So if you're really looking for an opportunity to work in a number of different areas, I'm going to put it in a plug for OPQ, the place to be within the FDA is the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, because there's nowhere else you can really get that kind of experience and exposure to all of these different types of drug applications. And it's one of the reasons, not the only reason, that really drove me to come to work at the FDA. We also work across the life cycle. We get involved in the development phase. We get involved in pre-marketing before the drugs make it to the market. And then post-marketing, we have to do our surveillance. So we monitor drug quality even when they're on the market. So we're involved from inception all the way through to the post-marketing phase of that particular product. We also get involved in a number of different areas. So I'm going to start at 3 o'clock. The first area that we get involved, or one of the areas we get involved in, is assessment. We have to assess all the applications that come into us, or the submissions, because there are abbreviated applications, there's amendments, things along those lines. So we have to do those assessments. It's one of the things we do. We also get involved in inspection. We are not the inspectorate. The inspectorate is housed under the Office of Regulatory Affairs, but we work, collaborate, partner with them during the inspections as well. We also get involved in surveillance. What we want to know is we want to surveil the industry. Well, Mike, why do you want to surveil the industry? You know, it's out there, you know, they're doing what they're doing. That's right, they are. But what we need to do is we need to understand what is the state of quality of the industry. The reason why we want to know that is because if there are issues, if there are trends that are happening that affect the quality of your finished product that actually makes it to the market, we need to make sure that we're aware of those trends and that we proactively find ways to mitigate those issues before they become bigger issues. If they become bigger issues, they may lead then to drugs being recalled, drugs being taken off the market, drug shortages, and nobody really wants to see that kind of situation because there are life-saving medicines that need to be available to patients. If there's a quality issue, we'd rather mitigate that sooner than later so that we don't get into those drug shortage situations where patients do not have the drugs that they need. And we also get involved in research. When I talk about research, it's not research, you know, just doing research for the sake of doing research. It's research really to do two things. One, to drive the policies that we need to put in place, and secondly, to be able to help us answer questions as drug applications are reviewed. We don't always have the answers, so we need to do some of our own internal research to be able to find the answers so that we can then better regulate the industry itself. So all of this comes nicely together within the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. I've mentioned a number of times, and this is kind of a hallmark for the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, is the one quality voice. It has two meanings to me. One, as I mentioned, is that all of the quality functions that were within CDER, within the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, were brought together and put into one office, which is OPQ. So you could say, well, great, OPQ is the one quality voice. But that's a very myopic view of what OPQ actually is. What we need to do is we need to partner with other groups within both CDER and outside of CDER. The other two groups that we work very closely with is the Office of Compliance. That's the enforcement leg of quality. And then we also have the Office of Regulatory Affairs, which is the inspectorate. So those three groups, the three of us come together and we work well together to be able to drive this one quality voice within the industry. We also have, if you're interested in terms of what OPQ has done, we do have some copies of our annual report that are outside on the table. So if you're interested in that, you can pick one up, a hard copy. If not, if you are remote, you can always go into the web page or into the FDA website, look for the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, and you can see our annual report there to see some of our achievements throughout the previous year. I'm not going to spend any time on that. I just kind of wanted to put a plug in for our annual report because there's a lot of good work that went into putting that together. So as I mentioned, what I want to focus on today is engaging, and that is one of our strategic priorities. So we want to strengthen our partnerships and engage stakeholders. All of you, you're here because you are one of those stakeholders. So we want you to join us in the commitment to quality. So there we have our Uncle Sam, pointing the finger, telling you to join us in this commitment to quality. So what does that actually mean? So do you have, whoops, too quick on that. Do you have a quality metrics program? If you do, then we should get together and talk. We have a quality metrics feedback and site visit program that's been set up. So we do ask you to engage with us in that if you so choose. The next one we have is, do you have established conditions to propose in an upcoming application? If you do, then let's talk about that as well, because we have established conditions pilot program. If you have an innovative approach to pharmaceutical product design and manufacturing, as you can imagine what the next one's going to say, let's talk about that as well. We have an emerging technology program. So as you're beginning to see the theme, the way we want to engage and the way we've proposed to engage with the industry is to put these programs in place that allows you then to engage with us to engage with you, because it does need to be a partnership. When I was going through my career in industry, it was always adversarial. Oh, you got the FDA, you got the companies, we should never really talk to each other. Only when they come in and do an inspection, Mike, it's the only time you're allowed to talk to the FDA. It's not the way it is anymore, nor is it the way it should be. So we really do need to partner. We put these programs in place so that you can partner with us to understand what our thinking is and really to help streamline your applications or your submissions when they come to the agency. So another way we want to engage is, do you have a complex generic product you like to market? Well, if you do, imagine what the next one is. Let's talk about that. We have a pre-ANDA program. You'll hear more about that I think right after my talk around complex generics. I affectionately call to that program as the PANDA program, pre-ANDA. So as you can imagine, we've done some nice things with PANDAs. Also, do you have a manufacturing site that, if it's disrupted, will result in a risk to a patient? If you do, we can talk to you about that as well through our site engagement program. And then finally, do you have a quality standard to propose for informal recognition? So we're not up to formal recognitions yet, but to informal recognitions. Informal recognition, if you do, let's talk about that. And again, we have a program around the recognition of voluntary consensus standards. That guidance is still in draft, so I can't talk much about that. But nonetheless, we've got these programs that have been set up within the Office of Pharmaceutical and Quality to engage with the industry. What I would ask you is please consider taking part in any or all of these if you so choose, or if your company so chooses. So let's go through each of these in just a little bit of detail. So we've got the quality metrics program. Many products are made using quality metrics to monitor quality control and for continual improvement of quality. And drugs should be no different, and they are no different. So we do want to engage in that as well. We have a quality metrics program. We've got two pieces to this. The first one is a feedback program. where we solicit information from drug manufacturers that are currently using quality metrics programs. And any data shared is for demonstration and informal purposes only. So we've gotten some concern that folks are wondering within the industry, well, Mike, what is the FDA going to do with this information if I share it with you? At this point in time, again, it is for demonstration and informational purposes only. You have my word on that. It is not to be used to give 483 citations. There is a misunderstanding in the industry that that's what we're doing with this. That is not the intent. It's one of the reasons why I want to highlight that and clarify that point. We also have a site visit program. We provide on-site learning opportunities for FDA staff. I've partaken in at least one of those. It's a great program. It's involved in the FDA Quality Metrics program, provides stakeholders with the opportunity to explain their advantages and challenges in terms of collecting quality metrics. In order for us to understand what the issues are in the industry, we need to engage, we need to understand what those problems are. And one of the nice ways to do that is to actually visit the company. We've already visited some of those companies, so there are companies that are willing to share that with us. We have site visit program has been well received. 2 site visits have already been completed. There are 6 facilities that are planned. So you can see companies are participating in that. Increasing acknowledgement of the value of quality metrics. 2 areas where that's really been driven home is through ISPE, the Cultural Excellence Report. And the other part is that within our docket, and these are public comments, so I can share this with you, is that Pharma now has also stated that they support the current Voluntary. It's a voluntary program, and it's a pilot program to approach quality metrics program, or to engage in the quality metrics program. So pharma as an industry now is beginning to see the value of engaging with us around quality metrics. Established conditions, ECs, or established conditions, are legally binding information considered necessary to assure product quality. Any changes to ECs, as you would imagine, because it's binding, does need a submission to the regulatory authority. Although every application contains established conditions, FDA has not specifically, we have not specifically indicated the application, the applicable ECs at the time of approval. So we haven't gotten there yet. Again, this is a pilot program that we are working through. Draft ICH-Q12, a lot of you may be aware and familiar with this. That guidance describes how an applicant can specifically identify and propose established conditions. In February 15th of this year, FDA announced a pilot program through a Federal Register Notice, an FRN, to gain practical experience in established conditions. Again, it's a pilot program. So we're looking for companies to engage with us in that pilot program to give us their feedback. So if you want to affect how we institute or how we operationalize these things, we then ask you to participate in this pilot program and help us to understand the good, the bad, and everything in between. FDA will accept 9 requests submitted before May 30th, so if you do want to participate, you don't have much time to do that. We're only doing 9 companies from applicants intending to propose established conditions. So again, if you're interested, please feel free to go onto our website or to submit your interested request or your written request to the mailbox that's shown here. Emerging Technology Program, or ETT Program, Emerging Technology Team, Emerging Technology Program. This supports industry's development and implementation of innovative approaches in pharmaceutical design and manufacturing. We've got to advance the state and the science of manufacturing within the pharmaceutical industry, because we're using old technology that leads to a lot of the quality issues that we continually see. One of the ways to get around that is to advance the manufacturing science. So what we do is we've set up this group where it identifies and resolves potential scientific and policy issues related to new approaches that you, your company, may want to take around manufacturing of a product. It enabled the first switch from batch to continuous manufacturing. So we've already seen successes in this program. You have a website and a guidance for the industry are also posted on that website. If you go on the website, you'll see the handsome young man on the right. We'll give you an introduction to that program, and then this way it'll tell you kind of what it's about. And if you're interested in participating, again, you can go to the website or take a look at the guidance that's out there, and that will tell you how to do that. So we've seen emerging technologies that we've already been working with, continuous manufacturing for drug product, drug substance, bioprocesses, end-to-end continuous manufacturing, from manufacturing of the API all the way to the finished product. So we've seen companies that are actually engaging in doing that. Also, pharmacy on demand is one of the other emerging technologies we're looking at. This is actually a miniaturized, flexible manufacturing platform that utilizes continuous manufacturing technologies. Believe it or not, you could actually, we've had companies and we've had discussions where an entire product can be manufactured in the space of a suitcase. That's how miniaturized these things are getting. You talk about advances in manufacturing, it's amazing what some of these companies have done. And you know what? One of the reasons why I love this job is because I would never have had exposure to this, to be honest with you, if I stood in a single pharmaceutical company for the rest of my career. So the things you get to experience, the things I get to work on are amazing because of all the companies that we deal with, or the industry we deal with. We have a new draft guidance on quality considerations for continuous manufacturing, so we are putting these guidances out there, and again, you can comment on these guidances as well. We also, one of the things that I get when we start talking about continuous manufacturing and new technologies, generic industry comes back and says, you know what, Mike, it's too expensive. We're never going to be able to do that. I beg to differ. I've been telling companies that what you have to do is you got to establish your business case and see if it makes financial sense to be able to do that. One of the things that we've done is that we now actually have a manufacturing company that has engaged with us to do continuous manufacturing through our emerging technology program. So I ask you if you, again, are interested in doing that to contact the emerging technology program. The pre-ANDA program, typically around complex drugs, for things like active ingredients. You see peptides, complex mixtures, complex formulations, liposomes, emulsions. Routes of delivery, these are complex routes of delivery, dosage forms, drug device combinations, and other products. So you see that we have a pre-ANDA program to talk about these complex products, and it covers from active ingredients to a number of different product types. So you're going to hear more about this. The PANDA program for these complex products clarifies regulatory expectation for prospective applicants early in development. So we have, as you would imagine, product development meetings. We can also do this prior to submission, so we call them pre-submission meetings, and then also promote more efficient and effective assessment, processing, or discussions to reduce cycle time during mid-review cycle meetings. Sally touched upon some of that to really help drive the first-time approvals of these applications. We have a site engagement program. It's an open discussion and collaboration on manufacturing issues that could impact patients. So we want to engage with the industry. It helps mitigate or prevent future production problems. One of the things I want to point out is that within the trade press, it was pointed out that this program was for companies that were on the cusp of failure. That is not correct. So I want to clarify that at this point in time. It's for companies, and it's for us to help mitigate or prevent future production problems that may lead to drug shortages. It is not for companies that are on the cusp of failure. We want to make sure that products continue to be supplied to the marketplace. This is one of the programs that will help us do that. It's a voluntary program. We reach out to the companies because we know which companies are working on these life-saving medications that maybe they're a sole supplier for, so we want to make sure we have a continual supply of those particular products. The initial focus is sites where quality issues could potentially disrupt availability. Again, not for sites on the cusp of failure. Because companies will come back to us and say, you know what, Mike, I don't want to be involved because people are going to think I'm on the cusp of failure. It's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make sure that the drug supply stays intact, especially if there are single suppliers that are for critical drugs that are needed. Benefits of the site engagement program, it's an opportunity for open discussion and collaboration. Again, collaboration, engagement may lead to effective corrective or preventative actions within the company. Again, this is all voluntary. It may result in reduced frequency and or duration of on-site surveillance inspections, which is great for us because we need to focus on some of the companies that are on the cusp of failure. That's where we got to provide our time and attention. Recognition of voluntary consensus standards. This again was put out in February. Proposed program provides stakeholders the opportunity to propose pharmaceutical quality standards for recognition by the FDA. Again, it's a voluntary consensus standards related to pharmaceutical quality for informal recognition. It's nothing that's been formalized yet. Would recognize nationally as well as internationally accepted manufacturing standards for drug quality. Why not? Take advantage of what's already out there. Why reinvent it? Draft guidance seeks input on this program, and comments are due by the middle of this month. So if you are interested, you don't have much time really left to be able to put in your comments. Benefits of consensus standard programs, transparency to industry on CDER's thinking on particular standards. What better way to engage than to be able to find out what it is we're thinking? It will help the industry compile information for application, should streamline those application assessments, which is really what we're trying to do, get them approved quickly, get them approved hopefully in a first cycle. Encourage the development of standards for emerging technologies as well. This is a burgeoning area that we really need to get our hands around. This is one of the nice ways to be able to understand what are some of those standards that we need to be looking at. CDER's first time recognizing informal voluntary consensus standards relating to pharmaceutical quality. So it's a nice program for us. So to kind of wrap things up, we can't do this alone, as I mentioned before. So we need you to join us in a commitment to pharmaceutical quality. And together with a focus on patients and consumers, because it is consumers as well, not only patients, because we do OTCs, over-the-counter drugs. Those are typically for consumers, not necessarily patients. So together we can provide them confidence in their next dose. So what I want to do is that I just have one last slide, but in order to set that slide up, that slide really kind of summarizes nicely on why we need to engage and why the stress on quality. I also get a number of questions because people have come to me and they said, Mike, you've been in the industry, you were in the industry for 25 years, you've now been with the FDA for about 3.5 years. Why do you stay there? Why'd you go to the FDA? So let me share this with you.
My husband was a fighter until the bitter end. He would have given anything for one more day. And I know that he would want me to make sure that this doesn't ever happen to anyone else. Please do not let his